Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminidhi Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Welcome all of you to today's second session of Nectar of Instruction. So today we will be looking at lesson 2, where we will be covering the text 2 and 3 of Nectar of Instruction. Okay. All right. This is Prabhupada's picture in Mayapur. You see the jolly at the back. Okay. So let's have a quick review of what we covered yesterday. We saw who is Sri Rupa Goswami. Can anyone, does anyone remember what's the answer vaguely for this or even correctly for this? Who is Sri Rupa Goswami?
Manjari Mataji, the
Okay.
spiritual world. Here is one of the 6 Goswamis.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we are the Rupa Anugas, and Rupa Anugas means to follower of Srila Rupa Goswami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave teachings to Srila Rupa Goswami, and Srila Rupa Goswami very mercifully wrote so many scriptures, and by his scriptures today we are able to trying to understand the uh, spiritual
Topics.
scriptures
Yeah.
and
Thank you. And we also saw the purpose and the brief overview of Sri Upadesha Amrita, and we saw how the attitude in Krishna consciousness is very important, and what does Krishna consciousness sense control mean? How we can control the senses Krishna consciously and make them Krishna conscious, and one who can tolerate these six urges, so that qualifies him to be a guru, like the last line of the first text says that he is qualified to make disciples all over the world. So for those who can control these six urges. All right, so in this lesson 2 today, we'll be looking at text 2 and text 3. And text 2 is, you can say, even little bit more explained what was in text 1, where text 2 is telling us about the don'ts, and text 3 is telling us about do's. So these are do's and don'ts, favorable and unfavorable activities in our cultivation of bhakti. So let's look at them. I hope all of you have the book with you. And is your shloka test done? All of yours shloka test is done, or it's yet to be scheduled? It.
For NOI, those are not yet done. For previous ones, we have done, but for not for NOI.
Oh, okay, okay. So you know the list of the shlokas for NOI? It's been given?
Yes, yes, it's there in the
yes,
handbook,
Mataji.
Mataji. I think the first 4 are there.
Yeah, so the first we covered yesterday. So then today is a text 2. So yeah, if one of you would like to chant this.
अत्याहारप्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसङ्गश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति
Okay, and the text 3.
उत्साहान्निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् सङ्गत्यागात् सतो वृत्तेः षड्भिर्भक्तिः प्रसिद्ध्यति.
Okay, so now if we open the book and let's look at text 2, and and try to again read this text and the word to word and the translation. अत्याहार प्रयासश्च प्रजल्पो नियमाग्रह जनसंगश्च लौल्यं च षड्भिर्भक्तिर्विनश्यति. So here atyahara, that means overeating or too much collecting, and prayasa means over endeavoring. Cha and prajalpa, idle talking. Niyama, rules and regulation. Agraha, too much attachment to, or agraha, too much neglect of. So here niyamagraha has twofold meaning that we will see more detail in just the coming down in another few minutes. So one is too much attachment and the other is too much neglect of. Janasanga, association with worldly minded persons. Cha and lolyam, ardent longing or greed. Cha and should be by these six, bhakti devotional service. Vinashyati is destroyed. Someone can read the translation.
One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following six activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations for the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements.
Okay, so now we'll go to text. So here, okay, here in text 2, as I said, it's mentioning about all the don'ts which are not good for our bhakti. So here, as you see, it says Shadbhir. Shadbhir means 6. Bhaktir, I mean, Vinashyati, it actually destroys the bhakti. These 6 activities, and what are these? Eating more than necessary, or collecting more funds than what is required, and over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, and prajalpa, that means talking unnecessarily about, I mean, when we talk unnecessarily, we are talking about mundane subject matters. We are not talking about Krishna. And niyamagraha, as the word to word also mentioned, that practicing the scriptural rules and regulation just for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement. Like, we want to follow them so that we get this kind of credit or that kind of pious credit, or we whimsically reject them and try to work independently of them. And fifth is associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And being sixth is being lolium, is being greedy about mundane achievements, that I want to go up the ladder, and then it is, these all activities actually destroys our bhakti. And let's look at verse 3, which are the do's for bhakti. So, उत्साह निश्चया धैर्या तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्ते षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. So here you see in the end also it says it's bhakti prasidhyati. So this, following these 6 activities, one achieves success, you know. So and he becomes, and he advances. If we look at the word to word, utsahat means enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is very much required for any activity for us to start with. And nishchayat, by confidence, one needs to have the confidence. And dhairyat, by patience. So by enthusiasm, confidence, patience. And tat tat karma pravartanat, various activities favorable for devotional service. And pravartanat, by, that means by performing, doing them. Sangatyagat, like rejecting the association of the worldly man. So it's just the opposite of what we saw in text 2. And satavritte, following in the, of the great previous acharyas, following in their footsteps. So here vritte means following in the footsteps. So shadbi, these are also 6. So by these 6, bhakti, devotional service, prasiddhyati, advances, or becomes successful. So these are also not direct limbs of devotional service, but they are helpful and harmful. So like yesterday also we were discussing, we are following these 4 regulative principles, and those are the don'ts. So what are the do's? The do's are chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra 16 rounds minimum, and performing devotional service. So when we can't have the lives just with don'ts, we need to have do's also, because if you are emptying something, then you need to fill it up also with something else. So these two, that's why these two texts have been taken together. So if someone can read the translation for this text 3.
There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service. Number 1 being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non devotees, following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service.
Okay. So now let's focus on 5 of these topics. What was that Mataji's name who was breaking in groups yesterday?
Sampat Soni Mataji.
She's here today?
Yes, Mataji, I'm here.
Okay. I cannot see. How many participants are there today?
We have 12 participants in total, Mataji, but excluding the 2 of us, we have 10. 10 in total.
Okay. Okay, good. So if what you can do is we can divide them in pairs. Okay.
Okay, Mataji.
So what you all have to do is summarize your topic's main points from this Prabhupada book, Nectar of Instruction. All of you have that. And you need to see the topic which you'll be getting, what analogies, examples, and the quoted verse are given in Prabhupada's book. Is it clear? There are 3 things which we need to look at: analogies, examples, and the quoted verse for your respective topic. And the topic is like those who go, the one which will go in room number 1, they have atyahara, prayasas, and prajalpa. And the second is niyamagraha and tat karma pravartanat. And the third is utsahan, and fourth is nishchayat and dhairyat, and fifth is janasangas and sangatyagat and satovritte. I would suggest then you can just write it down, so then when we break into groups, you all know what are the topics you are getting. Like some are just one text basically, like this first topic, the first point is all from text 2, but some are mixed from text 2 and some in text 3. So all what you have to do is you have to look at the analogies, examples, and the quoted verse in the purport what Srila Prabhupada has mentioned on these topic. And you all have got like a good 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because it's a lot of reading and discussion to do, and jot out all the points, and then we can come back to the main room and discuss our findings, what we have found out. Is the exercise clear to everyone? I believe
Yes,
so.
Mataji.
Okay.
So, Mother, we just have to state whatever points are available, I mean, in the purports. And
Yes, so like whoever goes in room number 1, they take the point 1, and whoever goes in room number 2, they take the point 2, and 3 and 4, 5 respectively. Is that okay?
So, like, so I mean, how many groups will be there? Like, if you are only 9
5.
people.
You're 10 people.
Mataji, one more participant has dropped off. So I can create 4 groups of 2 each, and one group will have 3 participants because it's an odd number of groups. So can we have Utsa Nishcha Dhairya as one group's topic? So group 3 can probably take the 3 of these, and then we can have 4 different groups.
Yeah, that's fine. So you're saying the Utsahan and the 3rd and 5th will be together?
3rd and 4th can be combined.
Okay, okay, fine, fine.
Okay. I'll
Is
just
it clear to everyone? The third and fourth will be together because there are only 4 groups now. So 1, 2, 3, and 4 will be together, and the fifth will be the fourth. Okay. So examples, analogies, and quoted verses.
Rukmini Mataji, Vidyavati Mataji, can you please join your groups?
Maybe some internet connection problem because these devotees were there in the beginning. Ras Raman Krishna and I think
Ras Raman Krishna Prabhu, can you please join your group? And Vidyavati Mataji, can you please join your group?
I think they are not around.
Yeah, I think there's some issue. Let me move. Then we'll only have 3 groups, but if I move Taran Prabhu out.
Mm-hmm. And who is this Tarun Patodi?
He's already in a group, but now I have moved him to group 4 Mataji because nobody was in his room. I think Vidyavati Mataji is joined now. Let me move him back.
Hmm.
Okay, now we're sorted.
Okay.
Everybody's joined.
Hmm. You live in Delhi?
Yes, Mataji, I live in Delhi. I live in Dwarka, so I used to be associated with the Punjabi Bagh temple, but now that we have moved to Dwarka, the Dwarka temple is just closer. So
Oh, so you're a student or you're working?
I'm working, Mataji. I have I have my calls till like 6:37, and sometimes I manage to join by 7, sometimes I'm late.
So it's an online thing which you're doing, or
It's hybrid, so we can work from home, and when we want to go to office, we can go to office. So it's a mix of both. Are you also in Delhi, Mataji?
no, I'm in Mayapur.
Oh, how wonderful. I
I
haven't.
I was in Delhi long time ago.
Okay. And were you also associated with the Punjabi Bagh temple?
No, when I was there, Punjabi work was non-existing.
Oh, so it's really been long. Yeah. I haven't been to Mayapur since the pandemic. I think 2019 was the last time I went. 2018 actually, so more than 4
Okay.
years now. Hopefully this year I will get to go.
I came out of Delhi after my marriage, so. But I grew up there, so.
But it's just very unlivable now. Like it's really, really unlivable is what I keep thinking. The air quality is bad, the traffic is bad. It's just, very difficult to live here. Every time I go to Mayapur or any of the other places like Jagannath Puri, I feel like I don't want to come back to Delhi.
These devotees are alone, Tarun Patodi and Priya Satyabama.
I will check again. I think Vidyavati Mataji may have dropped out because of some internet connection. I'll just go into their rooms and see.
Hmm.
Vidyavati Mataji has joined. She joined and then she dropped again, I think. Wait, let me. Okay, she's back. I'll check in room. They both have, Rukmini Mataji has very patchy network, so she keeps coming in and coming, like going out. So Priya Mataji is doing the exercise herself and she keeps coming in and out. So she said she'll wait for her.
But then, like this, you would not be able to participate in any exercises, yes, because you are doing this hosting and all those.
Yeah, Mataji. I haven't throughout the course. I have been creating breakout rooms. So I haven't been able to participate in the exercises.
But what is this person doing then? What is his name? Yagyadanist.
I think he's program managing, but I don't know. I think they wanted somebody to volunteer for the breakout group. So I did volunteer.
Oh, okay.
But I think it's by virtue of doing this that you can't be a part of the exercises.
Hmm. Hmm. So is it like you have set up a time here or like no?
So I can set up a timer. We started at 7:20 2. So it's been 6 minutes. I can set up a timer here. Let's see.
Yeah, so set up for another 20 minutes. I think that's good enough. So there are only like tell this one how many 1, 2, 5, 7. So there are only 8 devotees in this Bhakti Sastri.
No, Madhuri, we started with about 35 devotees, but I think as it happens in any program, like as you keep progressing, people keep filtering out. So now I think average participation is 10 to 15 in every class.
But yesterday was still okay. There were 15, but today it's like I think even less, 8 people.
8 or 9 people. People also join a little late because work gets done by 7:38. So sometimes they join around 8 also. So we see a hike in participants around that time.
Okay. So let me go through all rooms and see what they're doing. I think they need more time. The room number 1 where I went, they're still reading now. That's okay, we can give them some time because they're quite long puppets too. So remove the timer. You're not audible, you are muted.
Should I give them 25 minutes?
Yeah. See, now what is the time?
7:30.
Yeah, at least, 24 minutes. Because the participants are also less, you see.
Yes.
And they're quite like not just one topic, some of them who got 2 or 3 points to cover. Now I don't see this breakout room joining. Where do I see that?
Click on breakout rooms, the dot more at the bottom tab, there'll be something that says more,
Okay.
and click on breakout rooms.
Okay, later in today's class, you can open the whiteboard, not now, and then you can type as devotees are contributing.
Okay. Right.
Okay, let me go and see room number 2. What they're doing. They're all still reading. That'll take some time. You can also read something if you wish to. You're muted.
Oh, this always happens to me. I'll read online. I'm reading online.
Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanat Pranam.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Danvat Pranam, how are you?
Very
Your voice is breaking.
sorry Mataji, I'm in the car. So I was in a meeting. I couldn't join the class earlier. So I've just left. So I was able to join on my phone.
Okay. Good.
So how are you, Mataji? All good?
Yeah, all good. Just surviving in the heat.
Has it not started raining yet?
It, I mean, it rained today a bit, but it's not really rain. I mean, just for a few minutes, and then again it's super humid and hot.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am going to be in Mayapur day after, so I need to talk to Prabhuji as well.
Ah, okay. Day after you're coming
Day
out.
after, I was earlier planning to come tomorrow,
Hmm.
but I have a last minute meeting come up, so I'll change my tickets. I'll come day after now.
Oh, tomorrow is the Bhakti Maharaj's disappearance day.
Yes. Oh, I'll be missing out then.
Yeah, a lot of devotees already in here, and tomorrow big program. So, in Mayapur, one festival finishes, the other one starts.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true, Mataji.
Today
But
also,
it's
yeah, today
yeah,
also
yeah.
we had Narasimha Dev's Abhishek.
Yeah, so yeah, that I missed out on. I was hoping that I would get to be, but now the Abhishek is on a monthly basis, right? So I
Yeah.
haven't attended last month, neither this month.
Hmm. Yeah, it wasn't crowded anyway. I couldn't even. I was just there for 5-10 minutes. Uh, when you live here, you cannot attend anything.
Oh, closer to church, further from God.
Yes.
But yeah, Mataji, I mean that's something that I've noticed as well, right? All of the long-term residents of Mayapur, are usually at if it's festival time, then we'll try to stay away because otherwise, the crowds will get to us.
Yes, yes, yes. For me, I made a principle on festival days. I just go put my attendance and come out. The Lord has to see. I just don't make the endeavor to go and see. It's just super crowded. I don't have the energy to break through the crowd, and yeah, it is difficult.
Yeah, I don't know, Mataji. It is difficult. It is very difficult, especially in this heat, right? So
Yeah. So
that
good.
makes
How
it doubly
long?
difficult. And
Yeah. How long will you be here in Mayapur?
I am going to be there, Mataji, I think for about 7 to 10 days, not more this time around.
Oh. Mm.
So now, earlier I could spend a lot more time, when it was work from home. So, but offices have opened up, and every other day, some request comes up for a meeting or something of the sort. So then, you know,
Yes.
can't afford to be away from Delhi for long now.
Mm. Now that your wife also cannot come that often, so
Yeah, now Prahlad schools
Yeah, I
have
cannot
opened up as
come.
well. Haribol, welcome back.
Yeah, I know. There was some sound issue. I'm going to go back in my breakout room. You can have a nice chat with Mataji. Hare Krishna, Mataji.
I guess now.
So we were just discussing now Prahlad school has opened up, so we can't really, you at least can't go to Mayapur.
He can go. I cannot. I've been begging him to take me to Mayapur in the vacation, but this man is too busy for anything else. So I have given up officially.
Public forum पे
So,
शिकायत.
I. Well, I forgot. I was like, I'm sitting with you and Mataji, and I forgot everything else. There was no, this was
Yeah.
my one chance to complain. Because I think Mataji somehow can understand, no?
Yeah.
I'm gonna
Chalo,
go.
this is the class. I know. I think the breakout rooms are ending now, any which ways.
No,
How
I
many
don't think so.
minutes more, Sampada, to go? Is it like closer or
10 minutes, Mataji.
Mataji, can you put me and Rukmini Mataji once again in the room? There was some issue with the network and we somehow could not connect for 1 minute and talk.
I'll do that.
Thank you.
You just have to accept the request. I think Rukmini Mataji and you have been moved. Did you get
Thank
it?
you. Thank you. Yes, Mataji. Thank you.
Let me see what others are up to, what they're doing.
Hare Krishna.
Well, Prabhu, should I add you to a group?
No, Mataji, actually we both were in a group and we are done with our
Okay.
discussion. So,
Okay. You were in group 3, is it?
yes.
Yeah,
So,
Utsaha,
Mataji, should
Nishtay,
we
and
start?
Thaira.
Mataji,
I think
shall
let
we
the other members come. They should also hear it.
How many more minutes left?
3 minutes, Mataji.
Okay, so then it will close down on its own.
Everybody's back, Mataji.
Okay. All right. So we can start with um is the screen is still shared? No. So we can um okay. So the first one can go ahead. Somebody from room number 1 can present or say what did they find, the analogies, examples, and the quoted verses.
Yes, Mataji. So our topic was Atyahara, Prayasas, and Prajalpa. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada initially points out about simple living and high thinking, that one should lead his life according to this principle of plain living and high thinking. So in this Atyahar, so Atyahar is over endeavoring, and here different examples are given, and as well as Srila Prabhupada quoted Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and by quoting he mentioned that Saraswati Thakur mentions that too much endeavor not only means in terms of collecting food grains and everything, but even about those about mental speculators and dry philosophers, that they also fall under this category because they are not writing about Krishna consciousness. And then like the example is given that one needs to work for his maintenance, so that is not prohibited. Like one needs food grains, clothes and everything for his maintenance, but one should not over endeavor. Like animals don't have such problems of scarcity or economic problems. And the analogy is given of a bag of rice, that if a bag of rice is kept on the road, then birds will come and eat whatever is required for them. So they don't do atyahar, but humans first they will like eat till they are full,
And they
till
can
their neck,
get.
till they're full till their neck, and then they will even, yes, pack. They will store also somewhere. So that is why scriptures prohibit, and this is the cause of suffering. And the verse quoted is the Ishopanishad first verse, that Ishavasyamidam sarvam, that Lord is the controller and he has provided everyone with his quota. So one should not try to encroach upon others quota and become a kind of atatai.
Very
and
good.
then
Very good. Yeah.
and then another example analogy is given of $100 bill, that if $100 note is lying on the road, and then the first man will pick up and just put in his pocket and go, so he is not called a honest man. The second man will come, and then he will just kind of portray himself as a renunciate and just leave from there. But the third man, he will pick up and try to find the man who has lost it. So he's both honest and wise. So this was there in the Atyahar section, like the primary main points that we were able to find.
Mm-hmm. And also in this, Prabhupada also writes, actually to sustain our lives, just, some land and cows are enough. Uh,
Yes.
and actually, this example I could relate. Oh, Prabhupada had written that so many years ago. And actually, during this COVID time, when everything was shut, in Mayapur when we were there, like, I mean, everything was shut. The whole world was like closed down, and we could see that those farmers who were here in Mayapur, they had this land and cows. They were just, they were just having their normal life because they had everything from the cow, whatever they wanted, and in the land they were doing this small gardening and everything. So things were there, and that time I could actually see and realize that what Prabhupada was, mentioning and trying to teach us. It's so practical at these times. Actually, we don't need all of these things to live. Just having that land, one piece of land and a cow, is it's good enough to sustain ourselves. We have just complicated our lives so much these days, adding so many gadgets and so many things that we can't function anymore. And it's like recently I my phone crashed, and everything was like standstill. I didn't remember any contacts, nothing. I was like totally kind of a handicap, and I was just feeling it wasn't like this probably 10 years ago, not like that. And now things have changed. We have just accumulated so many, I mean, some things are required for service, that's fine, but over the period of time we could see that everything has become we're just doing everything over endeavoring for all these things which are actually not required. Now you see, like, this online thing, when now this has popped up, anything you name it is just a click away. You just get it home delivered. Earlierly, when there used to be some festivals, so those particular sweets or those items were made only during that time of the year, and everybody used to wait for that time. that this festival will come, and in household they make this. But now whole year round you can get that just a click away. You get anything online, right? And that's why people are falling sick also, because there is no regulation in life. You just get anything anywhere anytime. So all this is like a kind of extrapolation of atyahar, that we are just taking too much, which is not even required at that point of time. And we I mean, where we can actually just live by very simply. Yeah, I mean, earlier days when I was young child, we used there was no malls. I think many of us could relate to that. And there would be some one small shop, and you go with your list of items what you wanted to buy, and you just buy that, and then you come back. Now when you go to all these malls, everything is so distracting. Even those things which you don't need, it tempts you that you will need this and you want this. If you don't have this, then your life won't be comfortable. And we just keep buying all those things. And quite a few times you must have seen, we don't even use those things that often, but we just go and buy because it's over there in the mall or whatever, in the shopping complex. So life was much easier and simplified earlier. And now it's we think online is very easy, but it has actually added so many distractions to our life. Thank you.
Yes, Mataji. And just one thing, Mataji, like at home we were discussing that once I was able to relate, like when you were telling about the sweets. So that during the time of Chaturmasya, like even we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu or great devotees used to stay at that particular place and just engage in like spiritual practice and eat less. And I think the scientific reason which is there is that during the rainy season our digestion power is weaker,
Yes.
so that is why they used to eat less. But right now we see that we don't follow those chaturmasas. Still we have prohibitions that first month you don't take green leafy vegetables and like this, so some kind of prohibition. But earlier since those things were not very easily available, so there were not so much distractions also,
Yes.
and everything was scientific, like our Vedas are scientific.
Yes. And actually, Krishna has made stuff like that. These, if you see in summer, the fruits which come, the watermelon or, any of these squashes, they actually, in the summer, you should eat all that. So that actually helps to combat with that weather condition. And for winters, there are other vegetables which are more, you can say, heavy, and the digestion is much better. You can digest heavy meals, so accordingly you get those kind of, you can have peas and green peas and stuff like that. By then, now all the year round you get everything, and everybody gets sick. Yeah.
And Mataji, like the second topic is prayasas.
Mm-hmm.
So what we were able to relate is that atyahar and prayasas are interrelated.
Yes.
That because we are desiring those things which are not needed. So that is why we have to over endeavor to get them, to achieve them. So these two are interrelated, and Srila Prabhupada tells the cause is that collecting and eating more than necessary causes prayasa or unnecessary endeavor. And like this example that one can be satisfied very easily with the land and cow, but since we are not satisfied, we want to migrate to cities, and we want this kind of gadgets and everything. So that is why we need to do extra endeavor to get those things. But the man with higher intelligence, he knows that the purpose of life, ultimate goal of life, is to achieve Krishna. Outside people are not aware about this, and they are just engaged in satisfying their tongues. And that is why they have opened factories, slaughterhouses, brothels and liquor shops. And if we tell them that these are not necessary, like you don't need goods produced in factories and all those things, then they will say that why are you advising us to go to the primitive way of life? You are talking about old things. Like
Yes.
Yes, so this is there, and then the verse which is quoted for Prayasas by Srila Prabhupada is from Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.9, Dharmasya hi apavargasya नार्थो अर्थ योपकल्पते अनर्थस्य धर्म कांतस्य कामो लाभाय ही स्मृता, and the meaning is all occupational engagements dharma are certainly meant for ultimate liberation. They should never be performed for material gain. Furthermore, one who is engaged in the ultimate occupational service dharma should never use material gain to cultivate sense gratification. So, Mataji, these are the points. And the reason for prayasas is that Prabhupada in the end writes that materialists, they don't have faith in the plan of God, nor they have any aspiration for a higher spiritual development. That is why they misuse their God-given intelligence only to augment their material possessions.
Wonderful. So you had Prajalpa also?
Yes, Mataji. Prajalpa is unnecessary talks where like when we mix with our friends and we do unnecessary talking, and even Prajalpa is not only unnecessary talking, but if we are reading newspapers, magazines, novels, puzzles, and those things, so those activities also come under Prajalpa. Like if we are playing cards, flashcards, or watching television, debating on useless topics, so these also come under Prajalpa. And Prabhupada writes that intelligent persons interested in Krishna consciousness should never take part in such activities. So this was it. And we were just thinking like there was no verse and some reference. So we were discussing the example of Rupa Goswami and Sanatan Goswami when that Vidyapati came and he wanted to take a sign that I've defeated. So they very easily like signed on his document that we have accepted the defeat, because they didn't want to waste their time in unnecessary talk. Yes, and the example that what devotees should do, like we were thinking that if devotees should do satatam kirtayanto mam, like they are just always chanting and glorifying the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful, Prabhu. Thank you. Who was with you in the room? You and?
Vidyavati Mataji.
Okay, okay. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So, somebody from room 2, where they had Niyamagraha and Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat.
I guess Ruchi Mataji can first let us go through the Niyam Agra thing, then I can speak regarding Tat Tat Karma Pravartanat.
Hare Krishna. Niyamagraha means simply eager to follow the rules but having no understanding of their meaning. Niyam agraha is eagerness to accept, and Niyam agraha is failure to accept the rules and regulations. Both are not good for our devotional service. In this connection, Prabhupada has mentioned in his lecture in New Vrindavan in 1972, he says not following the regulations blindly. It should not be done. One should follow the regulative principles with firm conviction and understanding. Niyam agraha and Niyam agraha. In both ways, it is faulty. And too much agraha, false agraha, without knowing the meaning is also faulty. Hence, Mataji, we can see that the purpose of the rules have to be understood without understanding the purpose of the rules and regulations. If we blindly try to follow them, it's not healthy. It will not serve our purpose. Always higher principle have to be seen in the circumstances where two rules are to be followed and one is being neglected, then we can always follow the higher principle. For example, if somebody does not have time to do more, in case one does not have time to do Mangal Aarti and has limited time, then we can see the chanting is the more prior activity. And in examples where Prabhupada has also mentioned, like one devotee when once went out to preach in Western countries, he told Prabhupada that I do not have anything vegetarian to eat, but only meat is available. Then Prabhupada told him that you eat meat, but you preach. And similarly, in one case, we can see where when Prabhupada went with one devotee to some place where there was onion garlic in the food. And in that case also, Prabhupada told him to simply eat it. because the circumstances were like that. And we can also see that Prabhupada has introduced Brahman Diksha for women in Krishna consciousness in ISKCON. Otherwise, it was not there. So this is all, Mataji, I could find.
Okay. And Aradhya Gadadhar Pro, what do you have to
Yeah,
say?
I'm audible now.
Yeah, yeah.
So my topic was basically Tattat Karma Pravartan, basically executing everything that is favorable for Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada starts in regard to this in the beginning. Prabhupada starts with that famous, on the Veda Bhakti verse quoted by Prahlad Maharaj, Shavanam Kirtanam Vishnu, that one should execute devotional service in regard to, these 9 things as quoted to us by Prahlad Maharaj. And then amongst them, he highlights the importance of hearing or Shravanam. That, this being the first step in acquiring transcendental knowledge. So we should all concentrate on Shravanam. Like we hear the example of, Prabhupada's initiation with from Srila Bhakti Sastri Thakur. When Atul Brahmachari Prabhu asked that Prabhupada's spirit, Srila, Bhakti Sastri Thakur Prabhupada, that if you could take initiation, he said, yes, he likes to hear, I have marked him. So that importance Bhakti Sastri Thakur gave to hearing principle. And but one thing more, Prabhupada, that he highlights here is that oral reception should be given only to the devotees who are coming in the parampara, but not to unauthorized person. Those persons should not be, taken. Like we hear the famous example of that milk test by the serpent's teeth. In that case, that milk might be a nectar, but that same milk will become the cause of death for the individual. So one should not, one should not do that. And one is this thing, and Shravanam, as I told. So Prabhupada one quoted that this verse that various verses he quoted in relation to Shravanam, that hearing from the bona fide authority. One particular verse is that Tadvidi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevya Jnaninas Tattvadarshina. That's mentioned by Krishna in the end. That because that person has seen the absolute truth and self realized himself, that person should be served, and or anyone in this parampara. So this is what Prabhupada has highlighted, this 4.34 verse. And then another verse that Prabhupada has highlighted is that Tad Vigyanartham Sa Gurum Evabi Gachet. That in case one is inquisitive about transcendental science, one should not go to any person. He should approach a proper bona fide spiritual master. There is one particular beautiful story in this regard. We have all heard of His Holiness Bhakti Tirth Maharaj. So before coming to ISKCON, he had a spiritual leader and he was already spiritually inclined. So that spiritual leader, he asked him that, how can I advance more? He said, if you want to advance more, then that you cannot do with me. For that, you need to go to Prabhupada, that founder of ISKCON. He said, I don't think it's a bona fide organization. He said, yes, no, it's bona fide. Then he said, no, it's not bona fide. But his master said, if you think it's not bona fide, you go and check. I'm sure you will find it is bona fide. So Srila Bhakti Tirth Maharaj was saying that I come to ISKCON with the objective of proving my original spiritual mentor wrong, that ISKCON is not a bona fide spiritual organization. And when I went and I met Prabhupada and I associated with devotees, then rest is history, as we all know. So this is the thing. And then Prabhupada, of course, then Prabhupada quotes a very, very famous verse in the purport that Mahaprabhu, which is quoted by Mahaprabhu, Brahman Brahmite Kono Bhagavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade by Bhakti Lata Beach. That one should not receive transcendental knowledge based on mental speculation, but it should be received in parampara. And only a very, very fortunate person gets a chance to receive this thing in parampara. And to be from one point of view, we ISKCON devotees are the most fortunate in this regard. The reason for the same is Prabhupada said that in ISKCON, the devotees only have to become 70% Krishna conscious. That we must have all have heard, very famous story. Prabhupada said that everyone should become 100% Krishna conscious. They were, morose. Then 90%, then 80%. Prabhupada finally said 70%. So everywhere outside ISKCON, we need to become 100% Krishna conscious. But Prabhupada having the backdoor key, even if we become 70% Krishna conscious, He will take us back to Godhead. Not only this, one devotee came to Prabhupada and he said, Prabhupada, I cannot even become 70% Krishna conscious. Prabhupada said, don't worry, you take hold of my dhoti and I will take you back to Godhead. So, in being in a bona fide parampara, that too under the association of Prabhupada, we all are very, very, very fortunate in this regard. Also, Prabhupada says that regarding like this verse, that anything favorable should be used for Krishna conscious, as that famous verse from Srila Rupa Goswami, that Yukta Viragya Muchyate, Nirbandha Krishna Sambandha Yukta Viragya Muchyate. So Prabhupada says that this dictaphone that I'm using, this has been designed not for the spiritual purpose. The scientists or the technical people, they have designed it for their own material advancement. But we are using the same in Krishna consciousness. And Prabhupada went to, what do we say, some devoter came to Prabhupada and she asked that, Prabhupada, you're sitting in such luxurious temples. So Prabhupada said, see, I can even sit under a tree. I don't have any problem. But then will you
Come.
people come here? Yeah. So therefore, and then, one more case when Prabhupada went in a Rolls Royce. Prabhupada said, then the reporter said that you're going in such a lavish and royal car. Prabhupada said, even this is a car made of tin. The spiritual master should be served with a car made of gold. And she was, wonderstruck. Regarding then regulated principles, Prabhupada says that there are this Yam Niyam, and we have the 4 regulated principles in ISKCON. So these 4 regulated principles plus 16 round chanting. This is all regarding our, that tat karma pravartanat. These 4 things are mostly covered, is what covered by tat karma pravartanat. And Prabhupada said that all these 4 things should be executed with endeavor, and endeavor, as Prabhupada has already told, sorry, with enthusiasm. And enthusiasm, as Prabhupada has already told, basically means endeavor with intelligence. So it's the endeavor should not be without intelligence. Otherwise, such an endeavor can lead to the fall down in bhakti. So endeavor should be executed with intelligence. And many times people think we are, more intelligent. So therefore, such intelligence also should be in the proper guidance of a counselor or a mentor or a spiritual master. Yeah. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful, Prabhu. So now we'll move on to those who are in room number 3. They had 3 points: Utsaha, Nishyat, and Daryat. So somebody from room number 3.
Hare Krishna. Radha Gaurapriya Mataji, are you
Hare
speaking?
Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna. I cannot see you. Maybe
If you could stop
Pankaj,
screen
you
sharing
can
and
make
Sampata Mataji can spotlight.
yeah, maybe you can make her video scroll up or something.
Yes, Mataji. Can you stop sharing so I can spotlight?
So I should stop sharing the screen.
Yes, Mataji.
Okay.
Okay.
Mataji, I'll share a little bit, a few points on the topic, and then Gaurav Prabhu will elaborate on the same.
Sure.
Endeavor executed with, as stated in the book, endeavor executed with intelligence in Krishna consciousness is called utsaha or enthusiasm. The devotees find the correct means by which everything can be utilized in the service of the Lord. Nirbandha Krishna Sambandhe Yuktam Vairagyam Uchyate. The execution of devotional service is not a matter of idle meditation, but practical action in the foreground of spiritual life. The activities must be executed. That was a little bit about enthusiasm, and then the activities must be executed with patience. One should not be impatient in Krishna consciousness. Indeed, this Krishna consciousness movement was started single-handedly, and in the beginning there was no response. But because we continue to execute our devotional activities with patience, people gradually began to understand the importance of this movement, and now they are eagerly participating. One should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. The successful execution of Krishna conscious activities requires both patience and confidence. A newly married girl naturally expects offspring from her husband, but she cannot expect to have them immediately after marriage. Of course, as soon as she is married, she can attempt to get a child, but she must surrender to her husband, confident that her child will develop and be born in due time. Similarly, in devotional service, surrender means that one has to become confident. The devotee thinks, Avasya Rakshibe Krishna. Krishna will surely protect me and give me help for the successful execution of devotional service. This is called confidence. Now, Gaurav Prabhu will elaborate on the same matter. Gaurav Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, what did like last said like what last point that you mentioned about the newly married girl and those things you mentioned, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, so I think all the points are covered that we discussed. Yeah, just for a quickly, if I just mention, there is one more point that that was mentioned before regarding practicing with the first point. Like the first point is endeavoring with confidence or endeavoring with confidence. In that one thing Prabhupada is mentioning about the 9 processes of devotional service and how one must learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master and practice it. So in this case, it is very rare. This practice of Krishna consciousness is very rare. Prabhupada is mentioning Brahmanda Bhamite Kono Bhagyavan Jeev Guru Krishna Prasade Pray Bhakti Lata Beach. So once we get this such a rare opportunity, like we should be very, very enthusiastic. It is like example, like whenever we get something, some very rare thing or some very something that is not accessible to others, so automatically we become very much interested or very much enthusiastic to see what is it, what is in it, or how does it work and so on. Similarly, as the bhakti process is also very rare, and and we have got this wonderful opportunity by the mercy of Prabhupada and our Guru Parampara, so we should be very much enthusiastic in practicing it. With an example Prabhupada is mentioning, like in material world also, if even if we want to get something, like in any domain, like whether it's a business or in art or any domain, if we want success, we see that the person who is successful are very much enthusiastic in their domain, and they are always speaking about that and practicing it very, working on it, sharing that with others with in a very much enthusiasm. But similarly, as for our bhakti also, like we should be very enthusiastic in practicing it and sharing it with others. Yeah. So that is a point that I would like to add.
Okay, so it was Utsaha, Nishya, and Dharya, yes? So they are all kind of connected. Um, and also in this, we could also add, like, we can see many examples in history and in our literatures, in philosophy, in our Vedic scriptures, that many devotees, they had that faith upon the Lord, that this will happen, like this example which an example which some of you who had quoted, Mataji was just saying that, where Prabhupada is saying that this movement was started single-handedly, but just with patience, and Prabhupada solely depended on the mercy of Guru and Krishna, and he was just endeavoring, trying with enthusiasm to make devotees, and because of that enthusiasm and that faith in the Lord, and he had that patience that yes, this will be fruitful one day. He opened so many centers, and he preached Krishna consciousness throughout the world. And also we see, like in the example of Haridas Thakur, he had the compassion for those who were actually beating him up, but then he was very, very determined that whatever happens, you can cut me into pieces, but I won't stop chanting. So that kind of determination he had, of regardless of the situation, I wouldn't leave that. So that's what Prabhupada is talking in, when he um, was saying about that how this movement has started, and how he had that kind of faith and enthusiasm. You can say the fortitude, the patience, and the faith, firm conviction, and also the determination to just go on even with some odds which were coming up. We all know the pastime of how much he struggled in the beginning to get all that settled up. But the determination kept him on, and the faith in Krishna that this will be fruitful. So yes, thank you. So we will move on to the next uh, room group which they were doing. So maybe that from that room they can start sharing Jana Sangas and Sanga Tyagat and Sato Vritte. They had three points. So
Hare
yes,
Krishna, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I will speak little bit. Then Hare Krishna Satyama Mataji will contribute.
Sure.
Mataji, first of all, Jan Sangha. It refers to associating with people not interested in Krishna consciousness. And then Sangha Tyagat. These are and then Tyagat means both of these are related. So we'll go with the Sang Tyagat. It's the association with the person who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. So to progress in Krishna consciousness, one should strictly avoid such association. Srila Narottam Das Thakur advises us in one of his bhajan that Bhakta Sanevas Janme Janme Hoi Ei Abhilash. So he's saying that one should eagerly have lolium or greed for associating with devotees. So to counteract with not associating with not associating with the mundane people, one should associate with the people in Krishna consciousness. And one should always engage in the service of Lord in the association of Krishna's devotees. And association with those devotees who are already engaged in advancing in Krishna consciousness, this is really helpful. And now the example comes that in the business world, we find such institution as a stock exchange and chamber of commerce. Similarly, we have established the International Society of Krishna Consciousness to give people opportunity to associate. Okay, so we need association. If we have a like-minded, if we associate with a like-minded devotees, we can go further. Like if we associate with the bad people, with the mundane people, we will grow in that sense. But if we want to grow in Krishna consciousness, that as a shloka says that Shadbir Bhakti Vinashyati. So if we associate with the people who are mundane people, then this will ruin our spiritual life. And opposite, if we associate with people, and for this Prabhupada has established ISKCON, International Society for Krishna Consciousness, and here the people come from all over the world of any caste and creed, and together we associate with each other and we can progress. And now little bit from Sangha Tyagat. For Sangha Tyagat is like as in Jan Sangascha, we don't have to associate with the people who are not Krishna consciousness. And who people are those? People for whom we should not associate. These includes karmis, jnanis, yogis, and others non-devotees. So now Srila Prabhupada, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is an example that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu asked one householder devotees about the general principle of Vaishnavism. So he replied, Asang Tyagat Ei Vaishnavachar. So one should not at all associate with the worldly people. And there is one quote from the Shastras that Srila Narottam Das Thakur says that Tandere Charana Se Vibhakta Sanevas. So again, this has come. So one has to live in the company of pure devotees and execute the regulatory principles laid down by the previous acharyas and the 6 Goswamis, namely if we follow the previous acharyas, so we can come out of this, and this will lead to Shadvir Bhakti Prasiddhati. Shadbir Bhakti Prasiddhati. So if we associate, then it will help us in Krishna consciousness. And for this, very nice example comes like what devotees does in the sadhana bhakti. First of all, they do the morning program. They get up early in the morning at 4 a.m. They do Mangal Aarti. They chant their rounds, do Guru Puja, attend Bhagavatam, like this, and rest of the time they serve the devotees. So if you have to progress in Krishna consciousness, so we should associate, instead of not associate with the worldly people, we should associate with devotees who are fully engaged in discharging loving devotional service to Krishna. So now Mataji will continue.
Hare Krishna. So, Mataji, we have very good example here of Janasangas and Sangatyaga, where we can quote the example of the prostitute that came to Haridas Thakur. The prostitute had some ulterior motives, but the association of the pure devotee was so strong that she actually became a devotee. So this is what Nectar of Instruction puts importance on, that if you associate with devotees, then you associate less with non-devotees, and you eventually grow in your spiritual life. So what Prabhupada, has given a very gradual, maybe you can say, climb in the purport. As in, when you go for Janasangas, then Satsanga Tyaga, then you develop Vishuddha Sattva, which is, coming on the platform of goodness. And when you come on that platform, then you can perform devotional service. So association of devotees basically help you in advancement in devotional service. So this is what Prabhupada writes in the purport. And then Prabhupada also quotes Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Prabhupada, that it was just here, that cultivation of knowledge by philosophical and speculation. I can't find it now. Yeah, it's here. That Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur remarks that cultivation of knowledge by philosophical speculation, the collection of mundane opulence by advancement of fruitive activities, and desire for yoga siddhis are all contrary to the principle of devotional service. So if we want to progress, then we have to leave all of this to come on the platform of goodness, so that we can get that satovritti.
Yeah.
And then Prabhupada quotes the shloka from Bhagavad Gita, that's 2.69. Ya nisa sarva bhutanam tasyam jagriti samyani yasyam jagriti bhutani na nisa pashyato munah. So what is the night for all being in the time of awakening for self-control, and the night time for awakening for all beings is night of introspective sage. So that this is basically Prabhupada is telling the importance of devotional service, and then it leads to the desirable goal of human perfection of life. I mean, supreme perfection of human life. And then Prabhupada, generally then goes on to quoting, shlokas from Canto 7, where he keeps on stressing on the importance of devotional service, that one must be calmly convinced that those who give up devotional service to engage in severe austerities for other purposes are not purified in their mind despite of advanced austerities, because they are not performing any transcendental loving service to the Lord. So basically Prabhupada here is telling how we astray from Satovritti platform, because we start getting involved in austerities. And then he continues that although mental speculator and fugitive actors may perform great austerities and penances, they still fall down because they have no information about the lotus feet of Lord. So basically this is straying away or getting away from devotional service. And then Prabhupada goes on to quote again Bhagavad Gita 240, Nahe bhavi karuna nasho asti pratyas vayo na vidyate swalpam api asya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. That in this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution. So whatever devotional service we acquire, it is never gone. We might do some other endeavor and it gets lost if the result is not achieved, the ultimate result is not achieved. But in bhakti, this sort of thing never happens. Whatever you have done, 1%, 0.5%, 0.1%, that will always stay with you. So whatever, then you continue from that step only. You don't go back. You always move forward.
So
So
these
then,
are glories of devotional service.
devotional service, yes. So ultimately, Prabhupada leads to, in after explaining Satovritti, Prabhupada eventually goes on to explain how devotional service can take us forward in spiritual life and how we can, get free from the
Yeah.
material world. That's
Basically,
what
he's saying
Prabhupada has
there is
done.
no loss in doing bhakti, and then basically in the end, he's finishing it off with the glories of bhakti. Um, so like the association of devotees is very very important. It's something like we wanted to eat ice cream, okay, and so what's the first condition for having the ice cream at the right consistency? We need to keep it in the fridge or freezer. So the moment you take it out, it will melt. It will become something else. It won't be an ice cream anymore. So if you want to um, have the ice cream, we need to have a refrigerator or keep it in the freezer. So the same thing. So if you want to taste that, bhakti, the sweetness of Krishna consciousness, we have to be in the freezer, in the refrigerator of the association of devotees. Then only the ice cream will be like how we are, how we wanted to taste it. Otherwise, it's going to become something else. It's a very gross example, but very easy to understand that where it actually takes us, and like Prabhupada is explaining the glories of bhakti to us, and so this actually bestows all good qualities on him. So okay, thank you. We'll move ahead with the rest of the points. Um, okay, where is this? Okay, so we finished that. These are just some quotes which actually you all have already gone through in your explanation or presentation, where Prabhupada is saying, and this is very important, that Jivasya Tattva Jigyasa, the real purpose of life is to inquire about the absolute truth. It's not about, collecting things. And Dhairyat, that devotees mentioned very very nicely. So here one should not be impatient in discharging devotional service, but should take instructions from the spiritual master and execute them with patience, depending on the mercy of Guru and Krishna. And Nishchaya, um, like there are certainly many good qualities among furtive actors, philosophical speculators, and mystic yogis, but all good qualities automatically develop in the character of a devotee. No extraneous endeavor is needed. So just by doing devotional service, all good qualities are bestowed to us. And satovritte, that means dealing very straightforward, no diplomacy, no politics, no duplicity. So that's not going to help. So this satovritte is profession should be very straightforward, so no underhand dealings. And niyamagraha also was very explained by Mataji, Ruchi Mataji. So there are two meanings, which was already when we were going through the text translation, it's mentioned that agraha, when you have this agraha, that means eagerness to accept, and agraha means failure to accept. And this also we discussed that there are here Prabhupada is saying expert religionists, they know well how to adjust religious principles in terms of time and place. All great acharyas or religious preachers or reformers of the world executed their mission by adjustment of religious principles in terms of time and place. There are different climates and situations in different parts of the world, and if one has to discharge his duty to preach the message of the Lord, he must be expert in adjusting things in terms of the time and place. So, in connection with this quote, um, what can you list some examples which Prabhupada did adjust during preaching? If some pada is here around, she can turn the whiteboard on and take some points if somebody wants to contribute to this. Um, Yeah. What are the examples that Srila Prabhupada took when and he tried to adjust few things somebody can think of? Like this quote which we actually looked through where Prabhupada is saying that expert, religionists like him, they know where to adjust and what to adjust. So Prabhupada did some adjustments. Um, yeah, so Sampada, you can write down. Prabhupada gave Brahmin initiation to females, to the ladies. What else?
And reducing the number of chanting
Brahmachari
number of
ashram.
rounds to from 64 to 16.
Yes, 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 yes. Okay, what else?
And introducing the concept of Brahmacharini ashram.
Okay, okay.
Brahmacharini.
Prabhupada,
Brahmacharini ashram, not Brahmacharya.
Yeah, is the during his time, ladies also stayed in ashram, introducing Brahmacharini ashram. Okay, what else? Yes.
and
Letting
Prabhupada
females
allowed.
do closer service to the altar. As in
Yeah,
people were
that
guested,
kind
but
of
Prabhupada did
connect,
involve the ladies.
it kind of connected with the Brahman initiation. Okay,
Okay.
and then
Prabhupada being sannyasis arranged to have a marriage of their disciples.
okay.
Prabhupada actually established what was lacking at that time, like so-called which brahmanas were there? Uh,
That the Smarta Brahmana.
smart brahmanas. So yes, this point. But Prabhupada gave initiation according to teaching of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He gave initiation to Western people also, who used to be called Malechas.
He gave sannyas dikshas to the Western, embodied what people say. And what else is there? Some more preaching adjustments he did.
And
Like example we hear of sending devoted to West, and that no only meat available. He said eat meat but preach. So for the sake of preaching, I mean, that kind of a thing. So he just stood there. Many times he went to some rich people's home. So like that example that Ruchi Mataji gave, that there was onion garlic. So he just stood there.
Okay. What else?
Prabhupada invited
and
Vrindavan local that pandits, to the temple for that yajna, so that they don't become inimical of, to the Vrindavan temple.
Mm-hmm.
before Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Maharaj, there was not uh, Yukta Vairagya was not there. So Prabhupada accepted that and followed that and give teaching of that he used each and everything in the service of Krishna, like flights and all the gadgets he used like this. And
Yes.
he was condemned for that, but he did.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Very good.
Prabhupada, went to countries in non-sannyasi dress, because of the circumstances in some of the countries. He went in short pant also. Recently, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj also went to China in shirt pant, although being a sannyasi.
And also one more thing that he allowed worship of Guru Puja in front of the deities of his worship. Usually it's not done, but then he had to show his disciples that how to respect Guru. So yeah.
And also Prabhupada installed his own deity, although he was living. Although in scripture it is mentioned until Acharya is living, his deity should not be installed. Otherwise, he would have to take the sins of all the people for offering all his senses to him.
Yeah. Actually, also he wrote his own pranam mantra, and he was condemned for that by some of his god brothers. But then he knew that the Western disciples were not that, you know, I didn't had that caliber to write a pranam mantra for their guru. So Prabhupada instituted that and showed them. So yeah, this kind of things. Okay. Thank you, Sampada. You can close this down so I can continue the PowerPoint.
Mataji, should I take a snippet of this and post it on our group if anybody wants to?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay, fine.
Has the screen share stopped or should I start again?
We currently see the whiteboard, so I think.
Just
Okay.
a second, Mataji. I'm just.
Yeah.
Can you request to share screen? I don't know why it's not on. 1 second, let me share mine so that I can stop.
I think if you close down this whiteboard, then okay. So Prabhupada is saying that if one strictly follows the advice given in this verse by Srila Rupa Goswami, namely being enthusiastic, being confident, being patient, giving up the association of unwanted persons, following the regular principles and remaining in the association of devotees, one is sure to advance in devotional service. Actually, this text 3, like yesterday we were discussing with attitude. So this text 3 basically is, the first half is the, you can say, the positive attitude of a devotee uh, for him to help in the cultivation of bhakti. And the second half of this text 3 is how he should be conducting his life according to the following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. Okay, so if Sampada, you can quickly put them in pairs, and you have got like 7 minutes. You can discuss with your whoever is with you, the partner with you. You can share that 2 points particularly which is relevant for you from these two texts 2 and 3, and your plans for applying these points. So discuss with your partner 2 points particularly that are relevant for you from these two texts, second and third, and discuss your plans for applying these points. Please join the room.
Ruchi Mataji, can you join your room? Ruchi Mataji, Gaurav Prabhu, Vidyavati Mataji.
You can set up the time to actually 5 minutes. That's enough.
I'll do that.
Yeah, 5 or 6 minutes or so. Is the time over, Sampada?
3 more minutes, Mataji.
से क्या हुआ मुझे समझ में नहीं आया. I was not able to understand. I was put into one group, then within 1 minute I was put into another group, then within another minute I was again put into another group, and then again I was come back to this main session.
So
May
basically,
I know your name, Prabhu?
My name is Gaurav.
there was no participant in your room, and then when I put you in another room, then somebody else joined your room, and then when that person joined, he was alone. So then I had to move him, and then I had to move you. So
अच्छा 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 अच्छा, समझ में आ गया.
Okay, so now everybody is in. So I would just want to hear from a couple of you. What are your plans for all the hard work which we have done sitting here for the past 2 hours? Anyone of you is willing to share?
Yeah,
Mataji,
Mataji.
yeah, Mataji, we were talking, me and Ananda Gadadhar Prabhu. So I think we agree on one point that we need to cut down on prayas. Prabhuji says that he over endeavors for his office work, and I think I over endeavor for maneuvering my way out of situations, planning this, planning that, how to work out this situation. So I think we need to cut down on that, both of us, right, Prabhuji? Would you like to add here?
Yeah,
Ananda
Mataji,
Gadadhar Prabhu.
I seriously need to cut down on that because like office work, Mataji, like what happens is something comes from some senior and I try to do it as much as possible. And my counselor says that of course you should do your duties, but like I'm aspiring for joining ashram. So in that sense, he says that these things ultimately you have to come to this thing. So you need not over endeavor for those things, especially the office work.
You connected with which temple? Punjabi Bagh? Rohini.
Rohini,
Rohini.
previously सारे ही हम नई बाग से थे जितने भी यहाँ पर हैं. Now we all have some of us have come to Rohini. So
Okay.
this
Like
thing and
this breakout room, you all are put in some other rooms of Rohini from
yeah,
Punjabi Bagh.
yeah, same thing.
Okay. Okay, good. One more?
I think Mataji, one which I was thinking is about the Sato Vritya, like following in the footsteps of previous acharyas. So it's very difficult to follow in the footsteps of acharyas. They have done wonders. But what I feel that if I am able to, in whatever extent, assist them, that will also please them, because it's difficult to follow or try to replicate what they have done. But if we are able to even assist, then that is also a great service towards them. So this is
How,
what I
how
was
do you plan to assist?
uh, like there are so many things, and but the most important which will please Krishna and acharyas will be if we are able to bring more people to closer to Krishna, like how what Krishna is also saying in Bhagavad Gita. And acharyas also have this thing that more and more people should get like connected to Krishna consciousness. Prahlad Maharaj also is saying that I don't want to go to jungles and practice alone. I'm not selfish, but I want to stay in city. So similarly, just if we are able to assist, that is, I think, the success of our life.
Okay, so you want to do more preaching. That's good. Good, good.
Hare
Okay.
Krishna Mataji.
Yes.
Mataji, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Mataji, can you please help me to understand Niyam Agra and Niyam Agraha? Because I feel like I'm doing something which is Niyam Agraha. So like following scripture. So if you can please explain a little bit more. I think from last many years I'm, doing like this. I want to get into, if you can explain little more.
See here, if you go back to this text, So what's they were discussing when we were reading this, even when we were reading the text, that it's eagerness to share and the failure to accept. Okay, so it's like we are accepting those rules, or just for the sake of following them, so that one gets this credit or that credit. But actually the intent should be that we are following this for the cultivation of our bhakti. That should be the mood. And other thing which niyam agraha, that means to neglect the shastric rules and regulation. Like yesterday, this discussion was there of following Nirjal Ekadashi and things like that. So where is the balance in that? Like, or sometimes we say that oh, I don't want to follow any of this because I had enough of this following, and I just want to follow rag now. I want to do I did this enough for like 10 years. Now I got to go in rag, so that you are whimsically, uh how you say, you're rejecting those rules for not following. I've become, I've been following this for so many years, so I don't need to do. So that kind of attitude, then we still have to be following the rules and regulation, the vaidi, the rules and regulations. And slowly, because the one who is in rag, that person is also following those rules and regulation. It's just the intent is different. The person in rag is also going for mangal arti, but for him or her, it's because that taste is there, so that is quite spontaneous. But from externals, you might see they both are going for mangal arti, but for the one who is not in rag, who is in vaidi, it's forcefully put an alarm to wake up in the morning, and a struggle to get out of the bed. That's the first struggle in the morning. So it's actually the same activity, but which we see, they both look the same, but the intent is quite different. So why we are actually following the rules and regulations? This is, we are all practicing devotees, so we need to be following that for the cultivation of our bhakti. So while following that eventually the taste will come, and these things will be eradicated. Like this is from these are the don'ts which we are not supposed to be doing, right? And then eventually, after we keep following this, not and with the correct intent, then we will develop the taste, then we will not go back to this. Like we say, when we have the higher taste, then we lose the lower taste. It's the same.
Mataji, can you please help me with one more example of Niyam Agraha? I stuck here. Like, as you said, that one example of yesterday Ekadashi. One more example, please.
So it's this eagerness to accept. It means agraha. Agraha means eagerness to accept. We are very eager to accept that. Why? So that we get some immediate benefit. Like here Prabhupada is saying that the Jnana Shastras. So these are all pious credits we get. We are not doing all these rituals or these rules and regulations for getting some pious credit, or trying to become whimsical, the agraha. We are doing this, like, again, for because that's good for devotional service.
Mataji, if someone does morning program, so how to judge oneself that if that person is doing for doing for in Niyam Agraha, I want to
See,
understand more.
this book itself is your, nowadays, You get this at home. You can check your blood pressure and sugar. You get all these machines. So this book is that. So that's why we are reading this, and then we can be our own judge. What's our intent? More than us, who's going to know our intent? Tell me.
Yes, right, Mataji. Okay, fine.
I mean,
Um,
when we are going to be cooking, it's our intent. What we want to cook. Are we really going to cook for Krishna, or we are going to cook for something else or for someone else?
hmm.
Like each activity, we can gauge ourselves. Where do we stand?
Mataji, one personal question. Like, I do morning program, but my rounds are not completed because of many services. Sometime, because of these classes, Bhakti Sastri, I sleep very late, so and I get up very early. So it's very difficult for me to do chanting in the morning. And after morning program, I get very tired, and I have to take medicine also. So I take prasad, and after prasad, I take rest. So it's like I'm getting early in the morning, and my rounds are still not done. So I feel so much guilty. So that this was in behind me. So I was asking all the questions. So Mataji, can you please suggest that? And Mataji, then in Niyam Agraha, Mataji said that we should not do Mangal Aarti, and priority is our chanting. So this question came in my mind.
Well, depends where you are, which place you are, what you're doing, what's your service. Like if somebody is a pujari and he or she has to do the Mangal Aarti, then there's no point saying you don't do Mangal Aarti and then you chant your rounds. You see what I'm saying? And if somebody has a small baby who doesn't sleep the whole night, then just telling that person that you have to get up at 3 o'clock, that is something. So you have to see what situation, circumstance, place you are in, and then decide accordingly. That's one thing. Now, why it is recommended to chant in the morning? Because in one time you can, you can finish it off, or you can get it done with a good quality. But for some people or for some devotees, it may not be practical for whatever reasons, services and circumstance or health and whatever that is. But at least try to chant some 50% of that. Like we know when Prabhupada was young, he used to chant the 60 rounds, like spread out 4 4 4 4 for in the morning, like for after the lunch, and then afternoon, and in the night. So we have to see where we are, what we can, because one day it may work, 2 days it will work, then after 1 week you're back to square one from where you are. And this changing of the schedule also a very practical thing what I have experienced. um with me personally, like if I change something abruptly, it doesn't last long. So if you want something to last long, we have to change it gradually. Say suppose if you are chanting, if you are able to chant in the morning only 4 rounds, you can add just two more, you can make it six, and then you see the rest, you can divide it off during the rest of the day, part of the day, and then you after six you can do eight, like that. If immediately from 4 to you do 16, everything is topsy turvy, for many of us. But for some people it works, in just one click they are ready to go. So it's quite personal, and depending on our circumstance, we have to see and choose, and decide accordingly what is good. But for most of us, this gradual process does work, and then it lasts long, because then you chant the six rounds. Say suppose we're chanting only four, you chant 6 rounds for 1 week or 2 weeks, and then it's like settled. Okay, now then you can add one round, so that adds only 7 minutes, which is still okay, and then you eventually see how it goes for you. That's what I would suggest. But then if you are a person who can just, you're ready for an immediate change, then that's fine, whatever works.
Mm. Yes, thank you so much, Mataji. Mataji, one more thing last. Mataji, I feel sleepy in Bhagavatam's class, but I don't miss that and I go and sit. So is it okay to attend and to continue? Because it's like, is it not Niyam Agraha that I'm just doing that and it's not very much fruitful because I feel so sleepy. Like my sleep is not night sleep is not complete. So my whole morning program is like here and there, and I don't want to miss Mangla or anything, but I'm suffering from last few months. So is it okay?
Yeah, we have seen that thing, somebody who has jaundice, he cannot um, taste the sweetness of the sugar candy, but the medicine is only to eat the sugar candy, and once the disease goes away, then we can actually taste the sugar candy as it is. So, yeah, sometimes. Because see, we are actually in this um in this process of Vaidi. Okay, so we have to how you say, like, sometimes force ourselves to do few things which our body mind may not be accustomed to, and would want to do something else. And like this kind of gauging and checking, am I doing this just for the sake of doing, or I really want to advance? Oh yes, I want to advance, but this is the only way to do that, so let me go and sit in the Bhagavatam class, and eventually somebody will poke you, oh Mataji, you're dozing off or something like that, and then you'll be like, oh yeah, I'm not supposed to be dozing off here, I must be here to listen, hearing the lecture. So eventually, Krishna will make that arrangement to how to improve ourselves. At least from our side, we have to try and show our sincere desire that we want to do it in this way. Otherwise, what mind will always say, okay, just leave it, come on, just take rest and things like that. If you have made a schedule like that, then just follow as much as you can, and Krishna sees the endeavor, what we are putting in, and then he will reward us accordingly. Like we say, like, Krishna is not after the food which we offer him, or he's not looking for that when this person will come and cook and or give me a glass of milk. He's the goddess, he's the husband of goddess of fortune, but we are doing that for our purification.
Thank you so very much, Mataji. Thank you.
So we'll end with this quote. Why this stopped? Okay.
Hare Krishna Mataji,
This
continue.
Krishna consciousness movement offers a spiritual community that can bring about a peaceful condition in the world. Every intelligent man should purify his consciousness and rid himself of the above mentioned 6 hindrances to devotional service by taking wholehearted shelter of this Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada has given us this beautiful gift of Krishna consciousness. This is gone where we can practically uh, and with wholeheartedly, if we follow all this, everything is given by him. And like here Prabhupada is saying, Every intelligent man should purify his consciousness and rid himself of the above mentioned 6 hindrances to devotional service. So that is very, very important for the advancement of our devotional life, of our Krishna consciousness. After all, in ISKCON, we came to become Krishna conscious, and these are the ways where how when we can become Krishna conscious. So the decision is on us, how and when and why we want to do that. So that's on us. That's the individual choice that's been given. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much. Um, we will see you tomorrow at 7 p.m. Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.